Okay, so good afternoon, everyone who's watching this video. Today, we're going to be having a panel discussion about testing. Why is it important to get tested? About discussing getting tested with your partner. So we are all from Heart to Hand, and if you're not familiar with Heart to Hand is a 501c3 community-based public health organization. We're located in Largo, Maryland. We provide support services to those living with HIV and other sexually transmitted infections. We are the leading provider in Prince George's County. We're like a one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy, we have a clinic. We do free HIV testing. We also do STI testing. We have different psychosocial support groups. We have a men's group, a women's group. We have a trans support group, and we also have a new transition group for people who are HIV positive, who is transitioning from being an adult, from a youth to an adult. So if you're interested in any of that, you can reach out to us, and we'll lead you in the right direction. So now at this time, I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves before we get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jalynn Lane. I am a linkage to care navigator at Heart to Hand Inc. And I can't wait to have this discussion with you guys.
Hey everybody, I'm Cydney. I'm the Innovative Programs Coordinator at Heart to Hand, and I'm super excited for this discussion.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Chiquita Lane. I'm the manager of Linkage to Care at Heart to Hand Incorporated, and I am also excited for this discussion. I hope everyone that's tuned in is able to learn.
Okay, so I guess we can start talking about why is it important to get tested?
Well, I know for me, even personally, not just job related, for me, it's important to know your status, like just as an individual, period. Not because you're somebody's wife or somebody's mother, just because you're a human and you may engage in sexual activity. So for me, it's very important to know your status. That's the only way you can really take control of your sexual health, is to know where you stand as an individual.
I definitely agree with that, and I think to also bounce off of that, one thing I always say to my friends who might be hesitant about getting tested is why not? Like, it's quick and it's easy, and honestly, I think it's better to know, like you said, Chiquita, than to, sit around wondering, oh, like, might I have something? Might I be going through something? You might as well just take the guesswork out of it and, go get tested and know your status. So I absolutely agree with that.
I also agree. I think it's important to get tested, like Shakita said, as an individual because you don't want to put your health in someone else's hands. So I think it's important that you advocate for yourself in that way and just get tested. It's quick, like Cydney said. And the risk is not knowing. So you might as well know before, it gets worse.
Okay, and I pretty much agree with everyone as well too. I think it's always better to know than not to know. So I guess also we could talk about how, like, why is it like if you're in a relationship, like why do you feel it's important for you and do you think it's important for you and your partner to get tested together, or do you think it suffices for your partner just to tell you that, oh, I'm negative without getting tested together? Or is them
Um,
showing you results?
well, I think if they show you some results, then that's fine if they're recent results. But I think just trusting word of mouth, I do not think that that is the way to go. I don't think that you can make any assumptions about your partner's fidelity unless you're, just with them 24/7. And honestly, even then, I think just as a rule of thumb, you need to make it a regular practice to get tested, you and your partner, whether y'all go together, go separately, and then come back together and talk about it. But just going based off of what they're saying is not the way to go. I actually had a friend who recently was going through that. She started talking to somebody new, just got out of another old relationship. And I asked her, I said, have you gotten tested since you got out of that relationship? And before you were with this new person? And she said, well, no, I mean, he told me that he doesn't have anything, so, you know, I'm gonna believe him. And I think, just to go back to what Jalynn said, like, why put your own health in somebody else's hands? Like, why even take that risk? Like, it's better to just go ahead and get tested, ask him to get tested, because I think if you're not even ready to have the conversation with that person about knowing each other's status, then honestly, you're probably not ready to be in a sexual relationship with them anyway. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Yes, and just to piggyback off of Cydney, I absolutely agree with that. Because if we can't talk about sex and we're sexually active, no, everything needs to start with the conversation. So if we're going to talk about sex, what I like, what you like, then being tested and our status should be at the top of that list. So I don't necessarily think that it's something that even myself and my partner is something that we're going to do together, you know, but it is something very important that I need to know when you're going in for your physical and when you're going to your doctor, that your sexual health is looked at and it's viewed and we're having good open conversation about it. I mean, I'm in my 40s, you know, each generation is different. But for my generation, it's a thing, and we're going to have that conversation. If we can't have that conversation, then we can't have that action.
I agree with everything that everyone just said. But I just kind of recall my experience being in college and being sexually active with my partners. And I remember even reporting back, trying to bring up the fact that I was getting tested. I remember the saying was, oh, well, if you good, I'm good. And it was just like, okay, but we're using protection. So there's some, you know, protection there. But I don't know what you did before that. And do you honestly trust me? And I think couples should take the challenge to go ahead and get tested with each other, because I mean, if that's somebody you want to be with long term, you want to know that they will be supportive if you was to go through anything that was maybe health related or something like that. So I think people should take the challenge to get tested together. I think that also breaks the stigma of getting tested in general and asking your partner for the results.
And I definitely agree. I definitely agree with Jalynn, because I feel like that. I think even going to get tested together, like you can make it like a date day, a date night or something like. And I feel like that if you're sexually active, then why not go and get tested together? Because I feel like a lot of times, because of stigma, if you tell someone that, oh, I just got tested for HIV, they're going to automatically think that you thought that you had something. So it's kind of like, you know, just why not just go together, make it a date day, go get tested, go to lunch, go get tested. Both of y'all negative, go celebrate together.
So I actually have a question for y'all, an opinion question. How would you navigate, like, let's say you did bring up going to get tested with your partner, and you know there's so much stigma about getting tested. I feel like when you're in a relationship, you know, there are thoughts of, oh, well, like, are you cheating? Or like, do you think you have something? Or do you not trust me? How would you navigate, like, let's say if your partner got offended by you even asking that?
To be honest, in my opinion, because we know the prevalence of HIV, especially in 2020, it could very well be something as simple to say, look, every time I turn around, I'm hearing about HIV. Sweetie, I think that this is something that we need to go and check on, you know? I mean, it could be something as simple as that, because let's be honest, HIV is out here and unfortunately is thriving. And so it should be a conversation that is normalized, right? So it doesn't have to mean that it's an occurrence or someone was cheating or I'm expecting some type of infidelity for it to be a natural conversation for you to look at the person you're intimate with and say, hey, we about to roll into 2021. Let's roll into 2021 knowing our status.
And I can say, I think that, I think if you start out that way, then it wouldn't be like that. Like, I think that if you, like when people first meet, you know, before you do decide to have sex, you know, I think that's a good way to get it started, because at this point it's like we're freshly renewed. We haven't had sex yet, so in order for to have sex with me, we both need to go get tested to make sure that we're okay. So then, therefore, if you do get in a relationship, there could be something that y'all do on a regular routine,
Right.
every 3 to 6 months, or however often that, y'all decide that y'all want to get tested. So I think that if it starts off at the beginning, that it wouldn't be no, oh, you think I'm cheating, or what are you doing, or, any of that, if you start off that way.
And I also look at it as like a self-love thing. Like, honey, I love you, but I love me so much that I'm going to take responsibility, and we need to go ahead and get this test. And I also look at it as kind of like relationship goals. Like, everybody has their, like, your social media couples that's like out there. Okay, let's make new hashtag relationship goals where we post that we know our partner status, or we post, oh, me and my partner got tested. We that comfortable with each other. Not let me check your phone. Let me check your status. Okay.
Take a picture, boy. Take a picture of y'all getting tested together.
Exactly.
This is relationship goals.
Yes, it's election time. Y'all can go vote together and then come on and holler at Heart to Hand, and y'all can get tested together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask that. But yes, I absolutely agree. Especially with what you said, Kaniya. I think setting that precedent early on, because you know what they say, how it starts off is how it's gonna be. So I think making that clear early on and just making it a habit to just do it.
Right, and just like what Jalynn said, like it's in reference to the self-love aspect.
Yeah.
All of that is coupled in together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can't let anybody make you feel guilty because you care about yourself. I mean, people will do that, but you got to be strong. You can't let anybody make you feel less than because you care about yourself, because actually you're more than if you do care about yourself.
Amen.
I have a question for you guys. I'm curious to know, what were your experiences like when getting tested? Did you feel like the testers were judgmental? What were your experience behind that? Because I see a lot of stigma of like, okay, I want nobody seeing me. I want anyone to judge me. What kind of questions are they going to ask? I'm curious to know what was your experience behind it as an actual customer versus a tester.
Well, I can say, okay, so I think for me, okay, like when I first started getting tested, it was always that, what is it? Is it confidential? I can't remember if it's confidential testing where you just had a number and they give you the number or whatever, and how it used to be. So for that, I mean, that was kind of, that used to make me nervous. But I think that like living in Virginia, like people that like organizations like this right here, I think times have changed. But I know that when I lived in Virginia, I would never go to an organization like this to get tested, because I had friends that worked there or people that I knew that worked at those organizations. And so I would never want to go there and get tested, because I would always feel like, what if I found that I had something and then they go and tell everybody or something like that? So I would go to the health department and get tested. Going to the health department to get tested, it didn't bother me, because I mean, I'm like, they don't know me, I don't know them, so I'm comfortable.
I know for me, my experience with getting tested, I've been blessed with some very nice, down-to-earth people, so I didn't even receive any notion of judgment, and they were very professional. Most of all times that I have been tested, even before becoming a licensed tester myself, it took place in a doctor's office setting. So they were privy to my previous medical history. So I myself felt very comfortable.
Yeah, I second what Chiquita said. I also would get tested when I would go to my OBGYN. So I didn't feel any, real judgment or pressure from that. I will say, before I got my first test, though, I felt like I didn't really know what to expect. And I think, you see online or like on TV shows and stuff like that, people getting all nervous about, the idea of going to get tested. And it's like, oh my God, like I'm so anxious waiting for this call. Like, are they going to call me and say I have something? So I felt a little bit of that, but I think once I actually just went through and did it, it was like, what was I worried about? Like, this was good. I think, the doctor, and then when I've done rapid tests too, the testers were always very understanding, very non-judgmental. So yeah, good experiences overall.
And I think now, even by me doing this kind of work and just looking at other organizations or other people that I know, or even looking at the people that I work with, I think now it's a lot easier to get tested because, like, I mean, I know all the stigma isn't gone, but a lot of the stigma is gone. So a lot of times I think people are getting more comfortable with getting tested. Like, I know that if I need to come to Heart to Hand to get tested, then I probably would feel comfortable with the people who I know that's going to test me. Or if I was to go to like HIPS or somewhere like that, I would feel comfortable with going there. I think times have changed.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jalynn.
I was just going to say I agree. And I think what's helpful from my experience was that, the people who were testing me walked me through the process. So I was less anxious about the experience.
I would just like to add, for anyone who is interested in knowing their status and would like to be tested, just know that here at Heart to Hand, we offer at-home test kits. So even if you're not comfortable, you don't necessarily want to see a person in person, just know that that is a service that we offer. And you can access that service. You can go to our website and look on Linktree. It's really a matter of hitting a link and entering your name and email information, and we'll be in contact with you to provide you with the at-home test kit. Like, it's really no reason not to know your status.
And they're free, and then the store.
And it's free.
Absolutely.
So, anybody else have any more questions?
I have one more question. So I would like to ask you all, when it comes to getting tested, a lot of times people just think when I get blood work, that means I'm tested. So can we discuss what are the different types of tests that can be conducted? Because I think sometimes that information is just not always it's valid, but it's not always offered to the masses.
Absolutely, especially when you go to your regular primary care physician and you're going in for what's titled a physical. We all need to be made aware that physical does not include HIV panel. And that is something that I'm sure it's included in your insurance, but unless you specifically ask for that type of blood, you're not being screened for that. And that's something that everyone needs to be made aware of that. Because a full panel, a full blood workup, if you're not in the medical field, it's okay to turn to your doctor and say, tell me, what does that consist of? And if the response is, oh, well, we're going to screen you for STIs, can you tell me exactly what STIs I'm being screened for? Like, you have to establish that rapport because they are the experts. So in essence, they work for you. Ask all of your questions. No question is a dumb question, but you have to ask that information and be very clear. And if you can't get what you need, call Heart to Hand. We'll get you straight.
And I just want to piggyback off of that to say, I think you raised such an important point in making sure that you understand like the language that's being conveyed to you, especially if you're getting tested by your physician. I know, speaking personally, it wasn't until my second time around with, am I echoing? Okay. The second time around that I ended up getting tested, I am. Here, let me see. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't until the second time around that I got tested that I had to, ask for an HIV test. Because the first time, like Chiquita said, my physician was like, oh, we're going to test you for STIs. And it wasn't until I looked at my results that I was like, okay, well, this is only gonorrhea, chlamydia, like, where's the HIV test? So yeah, I think being very clear on, what work is being done, what labs are being done, and making sure that you're very intentional in understanding, like you said, that your doctor essentially, they work for you. So making sure that you're aware and understanding what's going on and asking for what you want and advocating for yourself.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that as well because I know me personally, like, I mean, I'm sexually active. So when I go to the doctor, I mean, my doctor do ask me, like, do I want to get an STI screening sometimes? But it is times where if I feel like that, okay, you've been showing out, then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be like, no, I need that bag because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like now, maybe before when the doctors have to do all that for you, when they have to swab you here and swab you there, then that kind of made me not really want to do it that much. But I think now I like to do it almost every time I go to the doctor just to make sure because I know that they're going to give me the bag. Everything is in the bag, and it's easy to do yourself as far as when it comes to STI screenings that they can't catch in the blood work. So that's a good thing to ask for too. Ask for the bag.
And even just speaking of the bag, a lot of people don't even know that, if you're having sex in different areas, you're just having a urine sample is not enough. So sometimes you got to swab that throat, swab that anus. I think that's important to know as well when it comes to advocating for yourself, is when it comes to getting tested.
And also, even if you want to, like we talked about the at-home test kits. I mean, there also you can get the STI test kits sent at home too. Heart to Hand doesn't do it, but you can go to iwantthekit.org. That's something through John Hopkins. You go to iwantthekit.org. You fill out the information. They'll send you the bag at home, and you do it yourself, and you just send it back in. It's just like
And I
going to
think
the
that
doctor.
one's free too, right?
It's free, yeah, it's free.
So how often should you get tested? Okay, so say for example, you are in a long-term relationship. How often should you get tested in that scenario?
Well,
Well,
I think,
oh, go ahead.
I know I hear some people say, some people be like once a year. For me personally, I would still get tested every 3 to 6 months, being in a relationship or not, because at the end of the day, I feel like that you don't know what your partner is doing. And like, it really is a lot that takes place in this world, and especially in 2020. So I think that it's still good to get tested every 3 to 6 months because I mean you can think that your partner is faithful and not doing anything, and they very well may not be doing anything, but you never know because you're not with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people can find the time to do something. It doesn't take much. So you still have to take control of your own sexual health.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that as well. It's not, and I think that we need to get away as a community. We really need to get away. It's great that we pour our partners into it and, we motivate one another to take control of your sexual health. But in all honesty, we really need to focus on the fact that this is an individual thing for yourself, right? So it doesn't matter if I'm married, it doesn't matter if I'm divorced, separated, or anything, because I'm still that individual. So every 3 to 6 months, the CDC recommends that if you are sexually active, so it doesn't say if you're married and sexually active, if you're a man who sleeps with men and sexually active, it says if you are sexually active, you should be tested every 3 to 6 months. So I think that as a whole, we need to try to fight harder to remove the excess and focus on our individual sexual health. And then certain standards won't never waver.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. I think still every 3 to 6 months. So,
Yep, I think that's definitely true. So, anybody else have anything they want to add?
As we close and seeing that Prince George's County has the highest incidence rates, which is new rates in the Maryland area or the state of Maryland for HIV. What are some other resources outside of getting tested that you can do to prevent contraction of HIV and other STIs?
Well, just protect yourself. I mean, you can have any, you can protect yourself in any type of sex that you're having, whether it's anal sex. You know, you have the insertable, which was also known as the female condom in the past. You could use that. If you have somebody who don't like, if you have somebody who say that they can't, you know, get an erection with using the condom, then you can use the condom on yourself. You have dental dams if you like to perform oral sex, you know, doing anal or, you know, vaginal. Or you have flavored condoms. If you don't have a flavored condom, there's flavored lube. You can put the flavored lube on the regular condom. So I mean, if you're in the same sex, having, same sex, if you're two women, you can use gloves, you can like to finger each other or however you like to do. So, I mean, it's a way to protect yourself in any type of sex that you're having. So it's never an excuse to have unprotected sex.
Yeah,
I agree.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, I agree. And Heart to Hand, we have, simple plug, we do have our safe sex kits. So you can order those online at our website if you're in the DMV area.
And condoms are free almost everywhere. So, okay.
Yeah, that's all I was going to say, Jalynn. I was going to plug too.
So is there anything anybody want to leave the viewers with before we close out?
I would just like to say to everyone, know your status. It's knowledge is way more, it's more than power. So know your status. Don't do yourself the injustice of not knowing your status. It is something that is free to you. And if there are any barriers keeping you from knowing your status, please don't hesitate to reach out to Heart to Hand. We'll work with you to remove those barriers so that you can know your status and then begin taking control of your sexual health.
Anything you want to close out with, Cydney?
I just want to second what everybody said, and also thank you all for really creating this space to have such an important conversation about testing, about knowing your status, and really just putting that in the forefront of everyone's minds, because I think it's definitely needed.
Jalynn?
I agree with everyone said once again, but what I said in the beginning states itself. You know, don't put your help in somebody else's hand. So, yeah.
And me, I agree with everything that everyone else said. Also, what I will say is something I always say, don't just focus there. Knowing your HIV status is very, very important, but also make sure you know your results of any type of STI. Like, you have like syphilis. Syphilis can be way more dangerous than HIV. So make sure that you're always getting STI screenings during the proper times. And I think that completes it for today. I thank everyone for tuning in. Don't forget that we are doing the at-home rapid HIV or quick test. You can find the link tree. The link tree on our social media pages. On Instagram is H2H Inc. On Facebook is Heart to Hand Inc. And so, yeah, if you're anybody in the DMV area, that's DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia, if you're in that area, you can reach out to us for the at-home test kits and the condom kits. And everyone have a good day.
Thank you.